Alrighty. So now we're live with Tempo Jr. If you're familiar with Tempo on the say the 32X, then you're gonna be pleasantly disappointed. So we'll just get right into it. So we'll get started. We're gonna start with the story. Welcome to the music world. Place where music is the source of all life. Once a year, Major Minor holds a dance contest, and for some reason, some guy doesn't like that Tempo and his girlfriend Katie are participating, so he just decides to kidnap Katie and says, hey, if you want to see your girlfriend safe, don't participate. But for whatever reason, it's like kind of like a damsel in distress kind of thing, where even though we save her every boss fight, she's kidnapped again. So this is probably one of the three Tempo games. This is not the worst one. I would say the one on the 32X is far worse, but this is by no means a good game. Basically, you have this dash that works sometimes it doesn't work, like that. And it's just a game that's like was really made for kids. It's really easy to not die. Like every enemy drops health. And the goal of each stage is to get those golden music notes and just go to the next stage. Each setup is like 2 stages and then a boss. And the bosses are all pretty easy as well. So all we do is just dash and fly and just go over everything. Let's see, yep, here we go. And actually, if you stand still for a little bit, the game does tell you where you're supposed to go. And also, if you don't hit those flowers, Tempo's like really sad because everything's really dark for some reason. I don't fully understand it. But if you hit those flowers, then everything's happy again. And a lot of the stages kind of look similar, like they each have different themes, but it's just really easy to get lost or try to not figure out what to do, and then sometimes collision's weird, like that. You just randomly try to get out of there. But this game was definitely built for the Game Gear from the ground up. You can tell by the colors. The Game Gear was basically a souped up Master System that used like the same sound chip, but the processor, the CPU could handle a lot more colors, like over 5,000 or something crazy like that. So now we get the first boss. That's not what you want to do. What you want to do is you just want to damage trade with him and mash the attack button. If you do any other kind of attack, he just rolls around to the other side of the screen like you see. So all we want to do is just stand next to him and just damage trade with him until we win. I found out earlier today that this game, or this series, is by the Red Company, which is famously known for the Sakura Wars series of games. I had no idea that they were related. So you could tell that they were destined for great things, but they had, you know, a stumbling start. And so after we beat the stage, we rescue Katie, but for whatever reason, she's kidnapped again. But so basically, the evil Zenza has kidnapped her, and his nasty henchmen are holding her prisoner. Zenza's message to Tempo is to stay out of the contest. Both Tempo and Katie have practiced hard for the show, and Tempo knows that Katie would be disappointed if he gave up. I don't know if that's like the story, but that's what the manual says. Oh, whoa, wait a minute. Just randomly lost my input. There we go. So we just jump down, and now there are these eggplant things. So this game is very heavily musical themed. You can see just everywhere, there's things everywhere. But like the soundtrack's pretty okay. Of the Tempo games, it's probably the weakest in the soundtrack department. And like the Game Gear can do some really good music. If you've ever played like the Sonic games or Sylvan Tale, the Game Gear can do some fantastic music sounds. This game is just right in the middle of quality. There we go. But you know, it's like just the frame rate, everything just moves really slowly. Sometimes your inputs just don't respond like that. Like you double tap to run, but sometimes it just does not feel like running at all. And sometimes you just gotta press it 3 or 4 times. Let's see. Let's do that. Alright, got it. That jump's kind of tricky sometimes. So if you don't get that little golden note before finishing the stage, that exit just doesn't appear. But like, I will say that if you played the original Tempo, this game's definitely a better experience gameplay-wise. At least that's my opinion. But it's not as interesting, I would say. Super Tempo or original Tempo has like a lot more interesting things going on for it. Like just a lot of cool colors and designs. But the game itself is just really, I don't know, uninteresting. But I guess that's just like the fate of it being on the 32X. There we go. So if you're running and then you do an attack, you press the attack button while you're running, you kind of do a roll attack. And I just do that just to stop myself from getting hit. Because while health's not too much concern, I still want to conserve it. Also, I found out the other day that those pits are actually just water. And since Tempo's a bug, water is not his friend. But if you want to play a good Tempo game, Super Tempo is pretty good. It still isn't a good game, I would say. It has a lot of really poor design choices, but it's really pretty. It has a lot of like great and hilarious themes. Like it's a much better game, but it still has a lot of problems, and it's very expensive. Last I checked, it was like a $400 game for like maybe an hour's experience, like even if you're not playing well. Okay, now the worst boss in the game. This boss is like one of the faster bosses technically, but basically the frog dude, he comes out at you, and if he grabs you, then he eats you and just wastes time, so I'm just trying to be careful about that. But this boss, you can just constantly damage him like that, and the bosses are just pretty simple overall. You're just basically fighting Zenza's henchmen, but honestly the story for this game is only in the manual. And after you beat each stage, you do a nice little dance. I'm guessing like each stage is part of the dance contest. It's hard to tell. And when I first played this in Super Tempo, I thought that Major Minor was like the big evil villain, because like in Super Tempo, he's like always behind a static screen, and you know that's kind of like a you know, the campy villain trope where you know he's announcing all his plans by hijacking the TV signals or something like that. But no, it turns out he's like your ally or something. I'm not exactly sure what's his relation to Tempo, other than like he gives you orders, but I guess he's your commander or something. And so this one, like, the key's just right there in the open. There we go. Oh, so like now we got like silkworm bugs. Ooh. There we go. Just trying to be careful on my health, because there is no checkpoints in this game. You just go back to the start of the stage, and that's not good. There we go. So like, just like this game, it feels like they put a lot of love into it, but they didn't spend a lot of time optimizing it, because this is actually like a fairly late Game Gear game. It came out in like 95, if I recall. So they had a lot of time to work with the Game Gear, and I feel like you can compare it to like Sylvan Tale, which came out in the same year, which was a vastly more interesting game, both musically, graphically, gameplay wise. So you can just tell that this game didn't have the developers' full attention, because I think it came out while they were working on either the other Tempo or Super Tempo. I'm not sure which. But yeah, like the music's just like really friendly and definitely targeted towards kids. It doesn't have that funk that the other games. Oh, I didn't get hit there. Sometimes that dude can just throw pebbles at you and take you out. So, so you see those gold coins there? We want to avoid those. If you have gold coins at the end of beating the boss, you get into a mini game where you have to basically play Simon Says, except with like do re mi notes. And that's just a waste of time. So another boss, just damage racing. There we go. And he'll just throw out snowballs. They're kind of random. Sometimes I do want to get hit. I think I've been playing around with it where getting hits here seems to be better than him doing that. Although it's kind of random whether or not he'll hit you with the mouse or just try to throw a snowball at you. There we go. Nice and easy. So we have one more set of stages to go, and then get to a boss rush, which is completely random as well. So this stage definitely the most colorful, with like, you know, lots of flashing lights and interesting things in the background. And I think it's definitely the most visually striking stage. So just gonna do a damage boost up here. I used to just jump on the other side, but technically like they expect you to go around. But who cares? We're just gonna damage boost our way up. Oh, there we go. Sometimes just decides not to jump onto a platform because it looks like you make it and then you don't. Then we're gonna jump over here, and then technically we're not supposed to be able to get up there, but because they so kindly placed an enemy there, we can just damage boost our way up there and skip having to do some little bit of a maze and some platforming. So grab that extra life, don't need it, but it's in the way. Grab that, and then just jump back over here, and then we can just fly to the goal like that. And just flying across, and then it says something in the back. I'm not entirely sure what it says because it just crosses the entire thing. Oh, it says tempo. And then has an arrow pointing to the exit. And then this one's just like another really straightforward stage. There's like, you know, little trick dead ends and stuff. See, I'm just gonna take this. Whoa. So like with all that lag, even though I was holding down the fly button, it just was not letting me fly. Okay, there we go. And then we can drop down here. Nice. And then there's some enemies that pop here, but we can just run past them since they're still like spawning in. There we go. Very nice. So here we're just going to drop down a little bit. Every time you drop, you lose your running speed. So just going to go over here, grab that. And then go back across. Very easy stage. There's a lot of things that can hurt you here, like the ceiling does damage, the floor does damage. I'm just gonna go over here, and the game is nice enough to point us to the exit. Ooh. So we're just gonna fly across here because the floor is just covered in spikes, and it's just like, hey, here's the exit. They're just letting you know. And all these nice shiny medallions. So this boss, very similar to the first boss, except that we want to jump on her head. If we do any other kind of attack, she does this attack where she zooms across the screen and we have to chase her down, and that's just not ideal because the movements and inputs are really laggy. So if you dash and you don't get out of the dash just fast enough, see, like that. And so I just gotta be careful. Luckily we can just jump infinitely. No! There we go. That wasn't that bad. So now we're gonna do 2 refights. We're not refighting all the bosses, just 2 of them, and it's randomized which fights we get. So it's very luck dependent on what you get. So this is a good fight. I like this one because it's fast. Just gonna do that. Okay, jump. I'll take the damage there. No! Ate my jump input. So one more hit, I'll take a hit there. There we go. So it's just basically the same thing as if you were beating a stage, like it even shows your score and everything. So now we're going to the next stage, or next refight. Let's see who we get. Because you don't really know. Oh, you get the clown. Ah, I don't like this fight. There we go. So I was hoping for the frog, because the frog is the other fast refight. Although the frog's hard to do fast. So now we get the first guy. I don't really know their names. The manual doesn't specify. But yeah, it's just damage trading, and we'll be seeing a lot of this. The final boss, I don't know what his deal is. I guess he has some attacks, but if you just stand next to him and do this, he just does like the monkey at you. But you can die to the final boss if you stand like on top of him. Then he can just out damage trade you. But yeah, after every stage we save our girlfriend, and I think this is finally the time where we save our girlfriend for good. Like I don't fully understand why we have to save her after every fight. So this is Zenza. So he just does the monkey at us, and we can just damage him down. He doesn't attack too much. Occasionally he'll get a hit in, but for the most part we just kind of stun lock him, and occasionally he uppercuts us by doing the monkey. He does have other attacks. He can like go in the ground and come out at you and do other things, but when you're standing like right here in front of him, the only thing his AI does is do monkey at you. Do the monkey. And that's time. Easy peasy. And wow, that was actually a PB. I'm surprised, because like I've been practicing for like 2 weeks and I never came close to my time. But thank you for having me. I love this bad game. I don't think I'll ever play it again, but I don't know, there's just something really cool. This is indeed a world record, but I am the only runner, so not much of a competition going on there. But look forward to Gordo 106 by Jangle coming up next, because that game is fantastic. Jangle's an amazing person and a good friend of mine, and they got the developers in on it. I'm so excited. So thanks so much for watching, and I'm going to pass it on to Bro Sencha.